It turns out, starfish don't have a head. They are the head. When you first look at a starfish, you think it's got 5 arms. Scientists have always been curious about why starfish look like this, and in particular, where their heads are. Most animals, including us, have bodies that are bilaterally symmetrical, meaning you can split them down the middle and get 2 matching sides. But starfish, along with sand dollars and sea anemones, are different. They're radially symmetrical, meaning their bodies have identical parts spread out from the center. Starfish, or sea stars, are special because they have this 5-way symmetry, and you can divide them into 5 equal parts. To make this discovery, scientists used a technique called RNA tomography, which helps study genes. They focused on the genes controlling the outer layer, including the nervous system. Surprisingly, the genes associated with the head were active in the starfish's head and its arms. Yet, genes linked to the body trunk were hardly active. This suggests that starfish have a unique separation between their head and body. The study sparked new questions about how these creatures evolved and what their ancestors with trunks might have been like based on their fossil records. It also showed that genes active in the head of an acorn worm were also active in a starfish's skin, covering its entire body. These genes are the most active at the center of each arm, changing towards the arm's end to resemble genes found in the rear of other animals. Starfish lack genes for a torso. All this challenges traditional views on starfish anatomy. There's a rumor about Paul McCartney recording an ultrasonic whistle for his Shetland sheepdog at the end of the Beatles song, A Day in the Life. Dogs can hear ultrasonic sounds since their hearing ability is incredible. To move just one of their ears, dogs need to involve 18 muscles. It allows them to swiftly locate the origin of sounds, and it's another skill where they outshine us. Their awesome ears sometimes shadow their noses. Dogs' sense of smell is up to 100,000 times more acute than that of humans. While humans have around 5 million scent receptors, a bloodhound boasts up to 300 million. Another study proves that dogs and bottlenose dolphins may share a fascinating similarity with humans. They call out the names of loved ones when they become separated. This makes them the first non-human animals to do so. The research has uncovered that dolphins copy one another's signature whistles when they're separated from close pals. In the Sarasota Dolphin Research Program recordings, pairs of dolphins were held in separate nets, but they could still communicate with each other. Turns out, some of their chit-chats were mimicking the unique whistles of their dolphin buddies. Next up, we have flamingos with their peculiar dining habits. You often see them feeding with their heads positioned upside down. This distinctive behavior is linked to the anatomy of their mouths and the mechanics of maneuvering their long, elegant necks into the water. These birds are skilled filter feeders, employing their tongues as effective sieves to capture food. When a flamingo lowers its neck beneath the water, it positions its mouth essentially upside down. Then the bird closes its mouth and skillfully propels water through comb-like extensions on its beak. It also utilizes its tongue to expel the water while retaining all the gathered food. If you've watched the movie My Octopus Teacher on Netflix, you might already know that octopuses can bond with humans. But this time, we'll only focus on the anatomy of this creature. Octopuses have 3 hearts. One heart pumps blood throughout the body, and the other 2 tag teams send that blood to the animal's gills. Octopuses also have 9 brains. Each of their 8 tentacles has its very own mini-brain. These mini-brains allow each tentacle to move independently at lightning speed. There's a 9th brain in the mix, and this one oversees the entire octo nervous system. Opossums are intelligent, in a way, too. They're known for pretending to pass away when their life is threatened. When they face predators, opossums attempt to intimidate their foes by showing their teeth, hissing, and growling. Yet, when these tactics fall short, opossums resort to shutting their eyes, collapsing onto their side, and pretending to have passed away. To look more convincing, an opossum might drool, let its tongue hang out, and even excrete waste to enhance the illusion of a sudden demise. Remarkably, opossums can uphold this state for several hours, waiting until they're confident that the threat is gone. Monkeys can be loud when calling one another, but a howler monkey's shout can travel approximately 3 miles in specific situations. Males are usually louder than females. The thing is, the sound is created by pulling air through a space in an enlarged bone in the animal's throat. This bone is larger in males compared to females, and that's why males sound louder. Polar bears have black skin beneath all that fur. Their fluffy white coat is actually translucent. It only seems white because it bounces back visible light. The skin itself is jet black. These creatures are also impressive when it comes to swimming. They can hit speeds of up to 6 miles per hour in the water, which is pretty fast for such big creatures. They can swim for miles and keep going for hours. Their big paws are designed for swimming. They use them to paddle through the water while their back legs stay straight and act like a rudder, helping them steer. Since we visited polar bears, we might as well add a romantic fact about penguins here. Male Gentoo and Adelie penguins put themselves out there with proposals. They offer their potential mates precious pebbles, essential for building nests in the harsh Antarctic landscape. If the lady penguin accepts the pebble, they're in it for life, bonded and ready to mate. Another study has found that our adorable house cats share more than 95% of their genetic makeup with tigers. These little furballs also mimic many behaviors of their wild relatives, like marking territory with scents and the classic stalking and pouncing during playtime. Biologically though, a cat's brain is kind of similar to a human's. We share identical emotional regions in our brains. Cats can also make up to 100 different sounds. Owls have eye tubes or cylinders. Their rod-shaped eyes don't do the eyeball moving. Our eyes can move in almost all directions. Owls have to make a full body or full head turn to look around, all because of night vision. To master the art of seeing in the dark, they need large corneas that can scoop up every bit of light. Most nighttime critters, like slow lorises or tarsiers, have enormous eyes to get the job done. But owls have small skulls on their agenda, so those big eyes couldn't swell out. Cockroaches are notorious for their survival skills, and a key reason is their unique brain structure. They have 2 brains, one in their head and a more basic one near their abdomen. They're so hard to get because these critters are incredibly quick to react. They have tiny hairs on their rear end that can feel the slightest breeze. When these hairs twitch, the cockroach doesn't waste time. It instantly switches to escape mode. Research shows that a cockroach can react in just 1/20th of a second. So by the time we turn on the light or grab something to target it, the cockroach is already speeding off. Cats can have dreams. Sometimes you can see your cat's whiskers twitching or its legs kicking while it's sleeping. This doesn't necessarily mean your pet is having a nightmare. We can look at human sleep to get a clue about what's happening with our feline friends. During REM sleep, our brains get super active, almost like when we're awake. That's also the prime time for dreaming. REM sleep is named this way because of the quick movements the eyes make under the eyelids. But while our eyes might be moving, the rest of our body stays still. The focus is on what's going on in our minds. This is true for cats too. Besides an occasional twitch, cats usually don't move much when they're asleep. The sky suddenly turns orange. All you can see as you look up are millions of butterflies. You just got lucky to witness the spectacular natural show, the annual migration of monarch butterflies. Every fall, as the days get shorter and the temperatures go down in the northeastern US and Canada, these beautiful creatures leave their summer breeding grounds. They travel up to 3,000 miles to Mexico and never come back. Their perfect overwintering ground is high in the mountains. Millions of monarch butterflies are safe there in the canopy of OML fir trees. Once the winter is over, it's time for them to go back up north. They make a stopover around Texas to mate and lay eggs on milkweed plants. A few days later, these eggs turn into caterpillars that feed on the plant until they transform into grown-up butterflies. Now, it's their turn to continue the journey up north until they find a new breeding ground. This way, generations keep changing en route, and it may take up to 5 of them to get to the final destination back in Canada. It's a natural mystery how the butterflies traveling south live up to 8 months traveling with the air currents. The same species going back completes its life cycle in 5 to 7 weeks. Scientists still don't know why the monarchs migrate and how they find their way. It could be connected with the blooming of milkweed plants, their primary food source. They probably find their way around based on the position of the sun. Humpback whales are real champions when it comes to migration and size among mammals. They cover a distance of up to 5,000 miles following their lunch. In the summer, they move towards the poles to colder waters, where there's plenty of krill and small fish. In the winter, they go south towards the equator's tropical waters. They also travel to mate. They have specific locations where they gather to do it. During the winter breeding season, you can hear male humpback whales sing, most likely to attract females or mark their territory. They produce a long series of calls and can repeat the same song for several hours. When the song changes, all singers that are currently migrating pick up the new tune. It's amazing how they do it when the distance between groups can be over 3,000 miles. Sea turtles migrate for more sentimental reasons. For hundreds of millions of years, these cute family guys return to the exact place where they were born to lay their eggs. They can cover up to thousands of miles, mostly when the seasons change and the waters are of a comfortable temperature. It could take them years, since some of them travel across the Pacific Ocean between Indonesia and the west coast of the United States and Canada, which is a total of 10,000 miles. But how do they find the exact spot they need if their parents can't just send them a geotag? Scientists have found out that they navigate using the invisible lines of the Earth's magnetic field. It turns out that each part of the coastline has its unique magnetic characteristics. The turtles remember theirs and travel using their internal compass. The magnetic field changes slowly but surely, so they have to shift their nesting sites accordingly. Salmon are born in freshwater streams and move to the ocean as juveniles. Atlantic salmon are brown and spotted as they cover hundreds of miles in fresh water and turn silvery in the ocean, where they travel for up to 1,000 miles. Adult salmon stay in the ocean for 1 to 5 years, feeding mostly on zooplankton. Then it's time for them to go back to freshwater to spawn. On their way back to the breeding grounds, they have to ascend thousands of feet against the current in mountain streams. This challenging journey is called a salmon run. They set on this run because they know the stream they're headed to will be good for spawning, and they'll meet the right species to mate with. Young salmon remember the smell of their home stream and probably even take note of various points along the way to the ocean to find it again. Just like sea turtles, they use the Earth's magnetic field as a compass for their travels. Pacific salmon and most male Atlantic salmon only live for a few weeks after spawning, and some female Atlantic salmon survive and migrate back to the ocean. Caribou, better known as reindeer, are the champs when it comes to migration distance among land mammals. Every spring, they cover a distance of around 400 miles in Alaska, from their winter to their summer feeding grounds. Individuals cover up to 3,000 miles, but herd migration is way more spectacular. The largest herd has at least 260,000 members, and its migration territory covers an area larger than California. Scientists put radio tracker collars on some herd members and take thousands of photos to count them all. This census is organized every 3 years in good weather conditions to see if the population figures are rising or falling and track their migration patterns. Caribou grow through all this migration trouble to safely raise their newborn young. They reach remote grounds where golden eagles, wolves, and grizzly bears won't bother the youngsters during their first, most vulnerable days. Another good excuse to hit the road up north for them is to save themselves from mosquitoes, which would be a huge problem in warmer months. Plus, they get fresh seasonal foods from the areas they stay in. Their migration helps fertilize the grounds they pass by, which means the tundra should thank them for regenerating and protecting its grasslands. Wildebeest, also known as gnus, are relatives of antelopes and gazelles. They spend most of their lives in the Serengeti plains of southeastern Africa, grazing on the grassy savannas. Every year at the end of the rainy season, normally in May or June, millions of wildebeest head northwest in search of greener pastures, and then back again. This migration is so spectacular that it's considered one of the 7 wonders of the natural world. Sadly, not all wildebeest make it to their final destination, as they have to cross rivers full of giant crocodiles and pass by hungry lions and other predators. If you look at dragonflies' migration routes, you can call them real globetrotters. Scientists discovered one such route that spanned from India to the Maldives, Seychelles, Mozambique, Uganda, and back again for at least 8,700 miles. It's the longest insect migration we know of so far. It looks like they set on this epic journey when the temperature reaches a certain mark and the days start to grow longer. They seem to be following the rains as they start during the monsoon season in India and arrive for the rainy season in eastern and southern Africa. One fragile insect cannot complete the whole trip, so it turns into a sort of relay race that includes 4 generations of dragonflies. Each generation plays its role in the journey. Scientists can't put radio trackers on dragonflies as they do with other animals because the insects are too small. So, to put together the migration route puzzle, they analyzed 21 years of data from volunteer citizen scientists and also wing samples from museums. Each of the samples had a chemical code that could roughly tell where the insect was from. This data helped the scientists understand how far this or that insect traveled as an adult. Elephants are known to have traveled across Africa for centuries. They rely on their herd leader's memory when it comes to recalling the tricky migratory routes. This big elephant boss leads everyone else to sources of ripe food and water when the seasons change. They also migrate to avoid danger, which is mostly represented by humans. Elephants have developed their own communication methods to pass on information about prospective danger. They use chemical secretions, vibrations, gestures, and touch. Recently, many African countries have restored some of the oldest elephant migration routes. These big-eared guys usually avoid dangerous areas for generations, but once they know the route is safe, they start using it again.
Some strange seismic activity begins all over the world. Volcanoes on the planet are waking up, but instead of lava, fiery stones, and black ash, they release an invisible gas that slowly fills the atmosphere. This gas is safe for all mammals and insects, but for some reason, it harms people. Gas masks, medication, nothing helps. It's like Earth says, "Hey people, I've had enough, get out of here." To survive, humanity decides to move to a place where the gas can't reach, underwater. We begin global migration to the seas and oceans. The first thing we need to do is build underwater cities. Engineers use anti-corrosive metals and building materials that are not destroyed by moisture, so there are no problems with the construction. But there are too many people on the planet, which means we need to move further and further from the shore, and the deeper the bottom, the stronger the pressure. To build an ordinary underwater house, it's necessary to create equipment capable of withstanding the water column. Also, it requires expensive materials. Stainless steel is not enough. There should be strong alloys of metals to resist colossal pressure. All of this takes a lot of time, and while some are building cities moving deeper foot by foot, others are crowding in coastal parts. Ponds and lakes are becoming the best places to live. First, it's much easier to swim in fresh water. People spend much less energy and time on movements there. Secondly, Fresh water doesn't require powerful filtration used in seas and oceans. And thirdly, there are fewer people in ponds and lakes, which makes the water cleaner. Therefore, all the rich people live there, and the poor survive in the oceans. Famous auto brands create stylish submarines and closed boats with filtration systems. Scientists, together with engineers, come up with a technology that quickly extracts oxygen from water. One box with this technology constantly fills every house with fresh air. And another special box sucks all the carbon dioxide out of the room and releases it into the water. Clothing brands create stylish diving suits. The ocean is cold, so designers install a heating system inside clothing. People used to collect sneakers, but now they wear fashionable fins. There are thousands of fin designs with various engravings and patterns. People create underwater mills to generate electricity and build underwater vacuum pipes inside which high-speed trains drive. But the most remarkable thing is aquatic farms, where livestock eats grass and seeds. There are also incubators with plants that produce extra oxygen. The human body is also changing. The skin becomes smoother and the muscles get stronger. Life in the ocean is a continuous overcoming of water resistance. And you also need to carry an oxygen tank with you. So every day is like a good training in a gym. Take a look at the Olympic swimming champions. Now, most people have such a figure. Doctors, biologists, and engineers unite to create unique masks that allow people to breathe in the water like fish without oxygen tanks. People get much less sunlight underwater and lose vitamin D. This causes depression and weakens the immune system. To fix this problem, scientists build huge ultraviolet lamps that illuminate the entire seabed. People are getting used to a new life. In a sense, it's not much different from the previous one. Everyone also goes to cafes, cinemas, shopping, and the gym. People get an education, work, and use the same law system. Only now, instead of walking down the streets, they swim. Water resources are rich in oil, minerals, and other valuable things. This ensures the growth of the economy. Megacities have appeared in the deep waters of the oceans, and seas and lakes are becoming resorts. The conditions on the surface have become completely unsuitable for humans, and the next generations don't even know what it is like to live on land. Meanwhile, tracks of people on the surface disappear. Abandoned houses are overgrown with moss and vines. Animals fill cities. Seismic activity causes earthquakes that carry all buildings underground. Humanity made room for a new species, fish. Several 100 million years ago, the ocean was inhabited by giant monsters. The smaller fish couldn't fight these big guys, so they swam as close to the shore as possible. Then, over the years of evolution, they began to change. Fish grew limbs and learned to crawl on the ground. And so, after a couple 100 million years, they began to turn into mammals. And after that, people appeared. At least that's what the theory of evolution says. Approximately the same story happened with modern fish. Only instead of sea monsters, they faced people in the ocean. Bright light, oxygen consumption, emissions of harmful gases, and garbage forced the fish to migrate first into the depths of the oceans. And then, as humans began to master the depths, the fish swam to the surface. But not because there wasn't enough space in the ocean, but because people started catching too much fish. It's problematic to grow grains, fruits, and vegetables underwater, even in closed farms. Therefore, to replenish the food supply, people just started fishing. To survive, the marine inhabitants had to swim to the surface. Now fish grow limbs to crawl. But when the dangers of people are left behind, the fish face a new problem: mammals. The population of bears, tigers, wolves, and all animals has increased since people left the surface. Now the predators are the rulers of the continents. The hardest struggle for survival begins. Fish learn to disguise themselves to hide from enemies. Many grow venomous spines, while others gain the ability to strike hard with their fins. But octopuses evolve the least. These clever creatures are the first to grab sticks and stones to fend off bears. They learn to dig holes in the ground and pluck fruit from trees. and soon they become heads of the sea kingdom. Meanwhile, people are building powerful spaceships to find another planet to inhabit. There's too little space in the ocean, and the water is too dirty. Ventilation systems are pumping too much oxygen out of the ocean, releasing a lot of carbon dioxide. Seaweed and phytoplankton, which provide more than half of the world's oxygen reserves, are disappearing because of human activity. People understand they have to leave Earth. Gradual migration begins. Humanity has been evacuated from the planet on giant ships for several centuries. They're flying to an exoplanet, just a couple hundred light years from Earth. Octopuses are becoming more intelligent than mammals. They see millions of giant ships flying out of the ocean and rising to the sky. The picture seems familiar to them. There's a memory of similar events somewhere in the depths of their DNA. The brain of octopuses develops faster thanks to the gas coming from the volcanoes. They become full-fledged masters of Earth. Animals and fish live next to them as pets. Then the octopuses build houses, invent the wheel, and open fire. From this moment, a new history of the planet begins, the era of octopuses. They create their civilization and find traces of the old one. Archaeologists with tentacles suggest that strange creatures lived on Earth once upon a time. They had 4 limbs and could walk upright. These creatures built their civilization here, but something happened, and these guys just disappeared. And while the octopuses are trying to figure out what happened to the previous civilization, people surf the expanses of space and meet a new, highly intelligent life. These humanoids look like octopuses since they have long tentacles, large eyes, and a developed brain. They tell people that once upon a time, they lived on planet Earth, but then plants and trees began to emit something called oxygen that poisoned the air. At first, the octopuses hid in the ocean, but oxygen filled the water, so they decided to leave the planet. Some of them adapted to the new conditions and stayed in the water with the fish. People tell them what happened next, including the history of humankind. The space octopuses realize that the story has now looped.
Nighty-night, close your eyes and sleep tight. Yeah, humans and most animals do close their eyes when they sleep, but when it comes to fish, things look a bit different. First off, most fish don't have eyelids because they don't really need them. Mammals use eyelids to prevent dust and any small particles in the air from getting into their eyes. Also, eyelids help moisturize our eyes. The environment underwater is nothing like on land, so fish can make do without eyelids. But they also had to develop some fancy gear like gills. However, some fish like sharks have eyelids. These guys are a very diverse group. Some of them, like nurse sharks that live in saltwater, tend to rest during the day. If they're disturbed while sleeping, they're slow to respond. Some sharks and fish, like tuna, have to swim all the time. They can't breathe another way. When swimming, they keep the water moving over their gills, getting the precious oxygen. Some other types of fish also have eyelids, but they're pretty particular. They're thick and somewhat transparent. They can even see through them. Scientists believe it's like they have glasses to help them focus on what they're looking at. All fish have very different sleeping habits. Zebrafish usually sleeps at night, just like we humans do. When it rests, it stops swimming and starts breathing slowly. The Mexican cavefish lives in caves and rivers. Those that live in caves adapt to their environment. There's no sunrise or sunset, so their rhythm is slightly different, but they still rely on their inner clock. Because they have to live constantly in the dark, they lose eyesight and reduce the need for sleep in general. Some types of damselfish that live in coral reefs even start swimming faster when they're at rest. Scientists claim they probably put half their brain to sleep while the other half is active, just like dolphins do. When the night falls, parrotfish create a mucus cocoon around themselves. It's some sort of a sticky sleeping bag that protects them from potential danger while sleeping. Some fish wedge themselves into a safe spot in the coral or sand. Some find a suitable nest. Lemon sharks lie still on the sandy ocean floor. Some float in place because they breathe using their mouth, which pushes water through the gills. But in general, when sleeping, most fish lie motionless, slow to respond to whatever is going on in their surroundings, breathing slowly. Fish have a pretty good sense of smell. They use it to avoid predators, identify each other, find safe spots to protect themselves, find food, and most are not fond of the smell of humans when swimming around. Fish can taste with their entire body. Their taste buds aren't only located on their tongues, but also on their lips and other parts of their body. Taste buds work when they're moistened, and since fish are constantly surrounded by water, they can sense their lunch is somewhere nearby, even without opening their mouth. Some types of jellyfish can be as big as humans, but there are even bigger ones, like the lion's mane jellyfish. It floats around the ocean at its full length of about 120 feet. Giant squids have the biggest eyes of all animals on our planet, 11 inches across, lens as big as an orange. The rest of the body is huge too. It weighs around 1,000 pounds and they're 26 feet long. And some scientists believe it can grow even more, up to 46 feet. Some types of sea snakes breathe through their skin, and one even through the top of its head. It has a small hole and a collection of blood vessels to pick up oxygen from its surroundings and send it to the brain while the animal is moving underwater. The deeper you go, the weirder it gets. Extreme pressure, dark, and cold depths hide creatures like vampire squids, goblin sharks, giant tube worms, and even the barrel eye, a huge fish with a transparent head. Sea lions can dance when they hear a good beat, making them the second animals on Earth that can move their bodies by following some external beat. They're pretty smart and can even learn some cool dance moves. Sharks are older than trees. The earliest trees showed up 350 million years ago in the area of the Sahara Desert. There was a forest back then. Sharks have been around for 450 million years. Jellyfish and horseshoe crabs have also been here longer than the trees. Whale songs can help us map out the ocean floor. Male whales use deep bellowing songs to attract mates, and these songs are the loudest sound coming from the marine world. They can be heard up to 600 miles away and reach depths of 1.6 miles under the water. The sound bounces back, which helps researchers to get accurate measurements. There are tiny worms living off the coast of Japan. They're pretty feisty and one of the loudest creatures in the ocean. They can be aggressive towards each other and even fight. While doing that, they emit one of the loudest sounds an underwater world can produce. Rings of a tree can tell you its age and give you some information about the tree. The same goes for a narwhal's tusk. You can find these unusual creatures in Arctic waters. They live up to 50 years and change color as they age, from blue-gray at the beginning of life to white as they get older. Their tusks are teeth with millions of nerve endings, something they use for feeding and communication with each other. But the tusks also get new layers through the years, giving more information about their age and past living conditions, even diet. Blue whale calves gain about 200 pounds per day when growing up, especially during their first year. When fully grown, they can hear up to 1,000 miles away and move at a pace of up to 20 miles per hour. A glass octopus is rarely seen in the ocean, but can be found in tropical and subtropical regions in deeper parts of the ocean called the twilight zone, or even deeper. Same as with other glass animals like comb jellies or glass frogs, you can almost completely see through these octopuses. Like, you can see their digestive tract, optic nerve, and cylindrical eyes. Pink see-through Fantasia is a glass version of a sea cucumber that uses its bioluminescence to make the predators disappear. There's a pretty bizarre microscopic creature in the ocean that looks like a multi-stage rocket, made of multiple units that repeat, including stomachs and tentacles. Just like ants, they make a colony of many individuals, which works like a single organism. Whale sharks are the biggest fish in the world. They're sharks, but have a lot in common with whales too. Their size is spectacular. They can be up to 40 feet long and weigh around 20 tons, about the weight of 5 hippos. A peacock mantis shrimp is a candy-colored marine creature that can detect ultraviolet light. They have 16 color-receptive cones, unlike us. We only have 3. Frogfish can camouflage, but they don't do it to hide from predators. They want to hide so their prey doesn't see them. They don't have teeth, so they swallow their lunch without biting or chewing. There's a type of marine worm that has a body that divides into a single head and many branches, each ending with a bottom. Also, each ending can grow a brain and eyes on its own. The world's biggest living creature is in the ocean. It's not a huge fungus or a copse of trees, but the Great Barrier Reef off the Australian coast. That reef covers an area of 133,000 square miles and is so big you can see it from outer space. Over 90% of the life forms we have on our planet are underwater and yet undiscovered. At the same time, the ocean makes almost 100% of living space on Earth. Our ocean is like a magnet for heat. The atmosphere doesn't allow heat to escape, which is why all that energy has to be directed somewhere, so it goes straight into the oceans. Because of that, ocean temperatures have increased over the last decades. 90% of volcanic activity on the Earth happens in the ocean. The most significant concentration we know is in the South Pacific, an area no bigger than New York, but with more than 1,100 volcanoes. Pressure at the bottom of the ocean is impressive, especially in the Mariana Trench. If you could go down there, it would be like you're standing and holding almost 50 jumbo jets on your shoulders.
Welcome to another fight of the century. The first participant enters the ring. It's the Megalodon. This shark lived 23 to 3 million years ago, and right now it holds the title of the ultimate hunter of all times. The second fighter is in the ring, and it's the Dunkleosteus. It lived around 350 to 380 million years ago and was the largest fish of that time. These creatures swam all over the world and aroused fear with their armored heads and mighty jaws. We're going to compare our fighters in several categories. In each of them, the winner will get 1 point. In the final round, these two sea monsters will face each other for the last time, and we'll find out who the real king of the sea world is. Grab your popcorn and hot dogs. It's time for round 1. Size. These days, the largest white sharks grow to be 20 feet long. The Megalodon was more than twice that size, up to 50 feet. That's almost as long as a tennis court. The ancient shark's single fin was larger than the average person. The shark's jaws were more than 6 feet wide. It would mean you could comfortably sprawl out inside the creature's mouth. At the same time, you wouldn't want to get anywhere near a shark the size of a big truck. And the Meg might have been even bigger. The only remains of the ancient shark are its teeth and vertebrae. That's why scientists can only guess what its true size was. Now to the next fighter. Some species of Dunkleosteus were only 3 feet long, but the largest ones could reach almost 29 feet. This school bus-sized fish was one of the largest of its time and much bigger than many modern sharks. But the Megalodon is almost twice its size. So in this round, the Meg gets its first point and opens the score 1-0. Moving on to the next category, and that's weight. Wait, what are we waiting for? Oh, you mean weight. The largest white shark can weigh as much as a small car. In this case, the Meg might be compared to 2 loaded cement trucks, 60 tons. An empty Boeing 737 weighs less than the ancient super shark did. If you wanted to lift the Meg in the air, it would take as many as 3 CH-54 cargo helicopters. The heaviest part of the Dunkleosteus was its head because of its massive bones, and its length could be more than 1 foot. The ancient fish weighed almost as much as an adult elephant. It was also 4 times heavier than most modern sharks, with a total weight of 4 tons. And still, the Megalodon is more than 10 times heavier than the Dunkleosteus. Another clear victory in this round, 2-0. The next category is agility. How about a treadmill test for the Meg? Its top speed was 11 miles per hour. It seems rather low, but no wonder. It was hard for the shark to move its body, huge and bulky. For comparison, much smaller modern white sharks can travel at 34 miles per hour. The fastest human can swim at almost 5 miles per hour, which means people wouldn't be able to escape from the Megalodon in the water. But the ancient shark had trouble turning. Its mobility could be compared to a large cargo plane in the sky. The Dunkleosteus, with all that heavy armor on its head, had perfect protection from all kinds of enemies. That's why it didn't need to be a good swimmer to get away from danger. Besides, it was the biggest fish in the ocean, meaning it had nothing to be afraid of. Still, the creature was smaller than the Meg. Its relatively compact size, plus agile lower fins and strong tail, made the Dunkleosteus speedier than the ancient shark. So, in this round, Dun gets its first point. The score is 2-1 in favor of the Megalodon. Let's move on. Now we'll see what our participants can use to fight each other. Round 4. Fighting Tools. The Meg's teeth were almost as long as your forearm, some of the largest teeth that ever existed. They were triangular in shape and razor sharp to pierce through whales' thick skin. The shark had 5 rows of teeth with around 50 teeth in each row, 250 in total. Do the math! The Meg also had its teeth changed throughout its life. Researchers still find the ancient shark's teeth at the bottom of the ocean. The Dunkleosteus had no teeth whatsoever. Its jaws were formed from long bony plates. They were incredibly sharp and shaped into long slicing edges. The coolest thing was that these edges could self-sharpen. The fish's jaw muscles were incredibly strong. They allowed the creature to open its mouth in 20 milliseconds. Time it. With a jaw like that, Dun had one of the most powerful bites on Earth. Its strength can be compared to that of the Mississippian alligator. For its surprisingly hefty bite, Dunkleosteus gets another point. The score becomes tied at 2-2. Now, let's see which of our contestants is more popular. The Meg is the most famous shark in the world. It's appeared not only in many movies and comics, but also in fisher stories all over this planet. Every time someone saw a large shadow lurking near their boat, they were afraid they'd see the biggest shark on Earth. Some people think that megalodons are still alive. They're simply hiding somewhere deep under the surface, for example in the Mariana Trench. But to feed such a large body, the shark would have to eat constantly, like me. And if this myth was true, you'd definitely see a megalodon close to the surface one day. But it's never happened, so you can sleep easy. Even though the Dunkleosteus isn't that well known, it still deserves respect. It lived earlier than the first dinosaurs and was the largest predator of its time. When archaeologists first found the remains of the Dunkleosteus, they were shocked. They called the creature the terrible fish and only gave it a scientific name years later. Well, even though this round doesn't change the count, the Megalodon gets its People's Choice Award. And now, the final stage, fighting skills. The Megalodon has the title of one of the best hunters ever. Scientists have been able to figure out the ancient shark's hunting tactics. They learned that these creatures somehow knew where their opponent's vulnerable spots were. They hit vital organs and were quick to disable their enemies. Sometimes these ancient sharks would also aim at the fins of larger sea creatures to immobilize them. It left the bigger opponents defenseless and unprotected. Another tactic the Meg used was a battering ram approach. The massive shark would crash into a whale, leaving it with no chance to escape. In other words, intellect and strategy were the Megalodon's most important skills. At that time, the Meg was the largest shark in the world. But in the oceans, there were creatures much larger than that. For example, whales. And the Meg didn't always have the courage to charge them. As for the Dunkleosteus, its trump card was its powerful jaws. Usually the fish would swim toward a smaller animal. Then, in a split second, it would open its huge mouth, and the future meal would be pulled inside along with water. As the creature matured, its jaw shape changed. That's why, after being born, it could feed only on large, soft fish. But as it aged, it got the ability to bite through tougher stuff. And later in life, the Dunkleosteus began to munch on sea creatures with hard shells, or basically any sea animal that existed at that time. Anyway, it's up to you to decide who gets the point this time. Do you hear the sound of the gong? It means it's time for our sea monsters to meet face to face. They run into each other in the vast waters of the ocean. The Megalodon is the first to notice its opponent. The shark wants to use its battering ram approach against the Dunkleosteus' powerful armor, so it begins to speed up. But Dun dodges and avoids the collision. As the Meg turns around, the Dunkleosteus gets a chance to grab the shark by the tail. In a split second, its powerful jaws close on the shark's fin. But the fish's bony plates are too short to bite through the Meg's thick skin. The Megalodon begins to twist and wag its powerful tail to throw the Dunkleosteus off its body. It looks like a rodeo. Dun gets a powerful slap and is left stunned for a moment. The Megalodon uses this time to turn around. A couple of seconds later, the massive shark opens its huge jaw and ends the fight with one bite. So today, the Megalodon proves once again that it's worthy of its title as the best hunter of the SeaWorld. The ancient shark continues its wanderings in search of a stronger opponent. Stay tuned. And now, for some risky restaurant business. Pufferfish is a Japanese delicacy and something akin to Russian roulette in the world of food. Its highly poisonous flesh contains tetrodotoxin, which is 1,200 times more toxic than cyanide. Yum! Normally, people can't stay alive if they eat this fish, yet Japanese chefs are trained to remove the poisonous parts for the $200 delicacy named fugu. That's pricey. It's almost completely banned in the US. There are only a few authorized places that sell it. Can I say people are dying to get it? I can't? Okay, so I won't. Another food banned in the US is kazumarzu, which is rotten cheese in Italian. If you ever feel like trying it, head to Sardinia, Italy. Basically, it's some sheep milk cheese. Special flies are allowed to leave eggs in it that are left in the cheese for 40 days. This delicacy has some live maggots that take care of decomposing the cheese, giving it that distinctive texture and spicy flavor. It's banned in the US for sanitary reasons. You think? Unlike soft and creamy kazumarzu, Kirpi is known to be the world's hardest cheese. Just like any regular cheese, it's made from milk. Its main difference is that it stays fresh for up to 20 years. The milk is quite special too. The cows, which are actually a cross between cows and yaks, eat a variety of mountain herbs. Cheese made from this savory milk has unique flavor. National Jamaican fruit ackee has a unique taste. It's quite mild, its texture is buttery and creamy, and it tastes just like scrambled eggs. It's safe to eat ackee only as long as it's fully ripe. Beware though, the only edible part is the white creamy flesh itself. Toxic pink flesh and black seeds are a total One of the traditional Jamaican dishes with this fruit is called ackee and saltfish. Well, at least it's codfish, not pufferfish. Another thing that should be 100% ripe in order to be safe is elderberry. These berries are quite famous though. You can find them in pies, syrups, teas, jams, you name it. Process these berries properly though, since they contain cyanide. Fully ripe and cooked berries aren't dangerous. That's good to know. Actually, almost all the pits and stones contain cyanide. Your favorite cherries have it too. The amount is small and isn't likely to cause any harm, but still, try not to swallow them. Same with peaches, plums, and apricots. Just don't chew on them for too long. Now, if you're a fan of seafood, you probably want to try some sanachi. It's some seasoned baby octopus tentacles. Well, the problem is that these are still alive. Those who have never tried this Korean dish claim the tentacles can still move on the plate and can stick to the inner part of your mouth since the suction function is maintained. Suction function. Meanwhile, another fun food fact. Greenland sharks don't have any urinary tract, and all the waste they produced is basically filtered through flesh and skin, so their flesh is toxic. Sounds like a good reason not to eat them, but not in Iceland. Nope. Hockerel, which is processed shark meat, is first hung to dry for 3 to 5 months. In the end, you get something like ammonia-smelling fermented fish with a jelly texture that reminds of wet bread. Cassava is a poisonous tropical root of 2 types. The sweet variation does contain some cyanide, but it's enough to cook it to reduce the toxic content to a safe level. To get rid of all the toxins in bitter cassava, it's necessary to grate the root, then soak it, and finally cook properly to make it edible. This root is very starchy and its flavor is really subtle. Cassava can be used just like potatoes, mashed, boiled, or fried. And I'd like a side of cassava, please, and hold the cyanide. Rhubarb doesn't seem to fit in this list of notorious dishes, but it actually has its downsides. Its leaves are super toxic, containing oxalic acid, and should never ever be used for cooking, baking, or whatever you want to do. If you ever try to eat one, the least serious consequences are a burning sensation all over the mouth, nausea, and breathing problems. If you live in the States and you're under 47, chances are you've never tried haggis, since it was banned almost a half a century ago. This Scottish pudding is made of a full range of sheep's inner parts. We'll spare you the details. Plus some oatmeal, a lot of minced onions, suet, just don't ask, and some broth. It's quite crumbly and coarse, and it's also spicy. It's usually served with mashed potatoes or mashed turnip on the side. Well, at least it's not mashed cassava. Well, by the way, potatoes aren't that harmless either. It all depends on whether they're ripe or not. So-called green potatoes are full of toxins, and potato sprouts contain solanine, which is quite toxic. Same with green almonds and cashews that are full of cyanide if not ripe enough. Luckily, the nuts we get at the supermarkets are well processed, which means they're completely safe. Whew. There's one bistro in Bangkok where they've been cooking the same beef and noodle soup for 45 years. Literally, the same. It's been simmering for over 4 decades. The broth has never been thrown away. It's always kept overnight for the next day's soup. They never wash the pan to keep the unique flavor. There's a massive grease rim around that huge pan, formed as a result of 45 years non-stop simmering spillovers. Please, be my guest. Chinese century eggs aren't white and yellow. They're black and gray when you peel them, and the outside color is brownish-green. To cook this savory Chinese delicacy, all you need is some tea, quick lime, salt, wood ashes, and some water to mix it all together. Dip the raw eggs in this paste and roll them in rice husks so they won't stick to each other. Let it sit for 100 years. Nah, just kidding. 10 days are enough when it's hot. For colder weather, it may take up to 30 days. Hey, don't go. It gets better. Bird droppings seem no delicacy, but in Greenland, there's a local dish actually based on them. It's called urumit, says here, and is made of ptarmigan droppings. They collect them in winter, and when they're dry, and cook them together with some rancid sea oil and some sea meat. The droppings, cooked this way, taste somewhat like gorgonzola. Check please. Surprisingly, harmless tuna can be pretty dangerous. Big fish live a long life in the ocean. The problem is, the mercury level in oceans has significantly risen over the last several decades, and the fish absorb it into their flesh. If you eat a lot of tuna or any other big ocean fish, you risk mercury toxicity. It's not that you should stop eating it, just monitor the weekly consumption. As for tuna, their eyeballs are quite a popular delicacy in China and Japan. Tuna eyeballs need to be boiled before eating, thank goodness, and some seasoning is required too. If you nail it, you'll have a delicacy that tastes like squid and stares back at you. Hey, on the good side, it costs less than $1. Red kidney beans are actually somewhat poisonous too. You might have never noticed or even known that, but it's because we eat all of them well processed. Cooked and baked beans expose no danger, while the raw kidney beans have a toxic protein in them. In order to get rid of it, you gotta first soak them well, preferably overnight, and change the water before boiling. When they're soft, they're nothing but a great source of non-toxic proteins and other nutrients. In Cambodia, you can try a crunchy, crispy snack that tastes a bit like crab. It's deep-fried and seasoned. The main ingredient is a tarantula. Now, this doesn't quite sound like a lunch. Now, this soup, whose name I won't even try to pronounce, is definitely scrumptious. The taste is sharp yet delicate, and it tastes just like shrimps. Well, this traditional Laotian dish sounds really cool until you realize it's made of ant eggs. To give it a bit of sourness, they also tend to add a few tiny ants. In Mexico, you don't throw away corn kernels turned black because they're rotten. You keep them as a culinary specialty called, this name. Fungus all over the kernel gives it that earthy, woody smell. Getting hungry? Some dishes just need the decoration, especially cakes and pies. In England, there's a pie called stargazing. The name speaks for itself. The sardines, accompanied by potatoes and eggs, peek out of the pie crust and stare at the skies. Sometimes these are the tails that point at the skies, though. Tea mushroom is another weird thing they drink in East Europe together with sour milk-based drinks. It's basically some fermented black or green tea. It's made by adding a whole culture of bacteria — they're not consumed, they just ferment the drink — to sweeten tea, where sugar acts like yeast. Add juice, spice, or whatever you want to taste. Well, I've had about enough of this. Think I'm gonna barf. Bye for now. Living at depths of up to 5,000 feet, the hagfish is one of the strangest creatures in the ocean. And there's plenty on the list. The goblin shark, sea spiders, red-lipped batfish, and even people swimming during winter. It's freezing, man! Get out! Although it looks like an eel, this fish belongs to the Agnatha species. That's fish without jaws, and the family also includes lampreys. Terrifying monsters with disc-shaped suction cup mouths filled with spiraling rows of teeth. Hagfish have 2 tongues, 4 hearts, and no eyes or stomach, like something from another planet. And what sets them apart from anything on this planet is that they have a skull but no spine. They don't have bones either. That unique spineless skull is made entirely out of cartilage, the same stuff in your ears and nose. That's right. Scaleless with skin that seems to fit over them like an oversized holiday sweater. It'd be a mistake to think this frail little creature would be an easy dinner. They've evolved to escape from other fish like Houdinis of the deep. And the trick is slime. Lots of it. When something tries to gobble them up or gets just too close for comfort, hagfish release a protein from the holes lining their sides. When this stuff meets the surrounding water, it balloons dramatically, as in 10,000 times. The more water touches it, the bigger this goo ball gets. A teaspoon of hagfish slime can turn into a bucketful in a second. It instantly clogs the gills of any fish trying to chomp down on our slimy friend, even sharks. But hagfish have gills too. So why doesn't the slime block their own? Easy peasy. This hagfish will simply tie itself into a knot and scrape the slime off its body. Doesn't mean their slime comes without inconveniences. Sometimes it gets in the hagfish's tiny nose. To get rid of it, they make themselves sneeze, sort of. Gesundheit. This fish's homemade goo is made of flexible strands that are surprisingly strong, as in stronger than nylon. Imagine falling into a pool of the stuff. You'd struggle to move your arms and legs to swim. It might feel like rubber bands tying you up. But you'd be perfectly safe as long as the stuff doesn't get in your nose or throat. In that case, you'd be as unfortunate as those gilled creatures trying to bite into the slimy fish. And hey, our own species is eyeballing it for loads of potential uses, from parachutes to cars and even clothing. Forget about diving in a pool of this goo. You could be wearing a slime suit in the future. But when it comes to landish creatures, the platypus is just as weird. This mammal has a duckbill, a beaver tail, webbed feet, and lays eggs. Like a lot of fish, the platypus and its relative, the echidna, have no stomach, but they don't need one. They store their food in their cheeks until they surface. Once they've eaten, the food goes straight to their gut. Just when the platypus couldn't get any stranger, they also sweat milk for their platypups. When winter has put bears, bats, snakes, and even myself into hibernation, there's one animal that does things a little differently. During the cold season, the wood frog lets itself freeze, sometimes for up to 7 months. Like a brown popsicle, they fill their body with a syrupy, all-natural antifreeze to stop crystals from forming. And when the right time comes, they can just thaw themselves out, even multiple times a season. These frogs will find a nice covered area in the forest and wait until spring comes. Once they're thawed, they'll hop away like nothing happened at all. When your name's the boxer crab, you have to live up to it. Ding ding! Round 1! This little crab is super smart. It has sea anemones living in its claws, and these DIY boxing gloves pack a punch. Carrying around these little tentacled sea creatures helps this tiny crab defend itself against fish and anything bigger than it. When feeling disturbed, the crab starts swinging and its gloves start stinging. The tentacles of sea anemones are covered in stinging cells that help the animal capture its lunch. Yup, that's no plant, it's a hungry beast. It's a win-win relationship. For helping the crab protect itself, the gloves get a fun ride around the ocean floor and free meals. Its other names don't sound as tough, but I assure you, the pom-pom or cheerleader crab looks cute but shouldn't be messed with. If you're afraid of spider webs, this is one to avoid. Darwin's bark spider is an orb weaver type that creates a jaw-droppingly large web for a penny-sized spidey. The silk in its web is 10 times stronger than Kevlar and double the strength of any other spiders on the planet. And the webs themselves can be as big as a king-size bed. Not that you'd want to sleep in one. Their web bridges are even more impressive. They can be over 80 feet long. The spiders build them across rivers to catch bugs flying over the water, or you rafting down the rapids. Watch out! And here I thought I spent too much time on the web. Gone to the beach on a hot sunny day when you realize you're out of sunblock. Hey, just do what hippos do. When they sweat, they create their own sunscreen. Living in the water for most of its life, a hippo's skin must stay wet to keep hydrated. When they do have to venture out of the water, something strange happens. The red or pink color we sometimes see on hippos are little beads of fluid that absorb the sun's UV and protect the skin from burning. They're also highly acidic to help stop bacteria growing on the skin. Hippos might look big and clumsy, but they could easily outrun and outswim the best Olympic athletes out there. Must be why the ancient Greeks called them hippopotamus, the river horse. Now, when you're a plant, it's hard to defend yourself, but not for the acacia tree. It has built-in bodyguards, ants. When a few of the leaves are getting nibbled on, the vibrations alert the ant brigade to head out and stop the trespasser. Living in the hollow thorns of the branches, the acacia ants come out and shock the hungry animal with their wasp-like stinger. The tree is so grateful to the ants that it feeds them yummy nectar. Not only do the ants stop animals from grazing too much, they also help improve the tree's health by reducing the bacteria that would be on the leaves. Now, never heard of a sea squirt? I don't recommend getting too close unless you want water in your face. The sea squirt may look like an underwater plant, but it's an animal more closely related to us than a cockroach. These squishy little creatures are in an umbrella category with vertebrates, like you, me, and anyone or anything else with a fancy backbone. That big happy family is called the chordates. Starting as little tadpole-like larvae, sea squirts wiggle around in the ocean for a short time until they find a nice bit of water to call their own. Since they're unable to feed themselves, drastic measures must be taken, and I mean drastic. Like oysters, barnacles, and mussels, the sea squirt has a glue-like substance that cements it to the first place it lands. Once they've picked their forever home, they need to start eating. The first thing to go is their own tail. Then they absorb their gills and even their brain. No longer need the ability to navigate the ocean, it's become unnecessary. They're not heartless though. The sea squirt's ticker is very similar to a human's. It even looks a little like ours. Now here's one you won't forget. Lobsters, crayfish, and crabs have teeth in their stomachs. After they gulp something down, the food in their stomach gets ground up by large teeth. This is called gastric milling, and it helps the crustaceans digest it easier. One species of crab had to take it a step further, of course. The ghost crab uses these teeth not only for eating, but also to growl. By grinding their tummy teeth when scared or struggling with another crab, they're warning to get away. Well, when you don't have vocal cords, stomach growling will have to do. They're also the fastest type of crab on the planet. They can move 100 body lengths per second. That'd be like you running 1.5 football fields in the blink of an eye. Whoa, look at that! Okay, let's face it, we humans are pretty ordinary. I mean, we're no superheroes with superpowers, right? What, you didn't get the memo? But the animal world has a bunch of superheroes. Some creatures live forever, and those who seem to not care about the laws of gravity. Critters that are immune to venom, and those that can run on water. And some of them will send shivers down your spine. So the first superpower on the list is the ability to live without water. Kangaroo rats can get by without water for years. They actually don't mind living without any water. Humans, on the other hand, can only survive 3 days without water. Humans 0, kangaroo rats 1. These little buddies live in extremely arid desert areas and have to get water from the seeds and plants they eat. And although it may sound a bit disturbing, kangaroo rats also know how to extract water from their urine before they set off on a bathroom trip. This way, they don't waste a single drop of precious moisture. Well, that would come in handy at sporting events. Now let me introduce you to the Peter Parker of the animal world. Yep, seems like Spider-Man is real, but not human. Meet a gecko lizard, or simply gecko. This critter has a marvelous ability to climb up all kinds of vertical surfaces and can even go for a walk on the ceiling. This gravity-defying feat is possible thanks to the lizard's unique foot pads covered with tiny hairs. They can cling to almost any kind of surface, no matter whether it's smooth, hard, rough, or soft. One more fun fact about these guys is that they lack eyelids, so they always keep an eye wide open for what's going on around them. If you wonder how they keep their eyes protected, here's the answer. Their eyes are covered with a transparent membrane, the cornea. Sure thing, they can't close their eyes, and if they have something in their eye, they simply lick it off. Right, they clean their eyeballs by licking them. I guess that's another superpower. Any supersonic superpowers here? Sure. A 1-inch-long subtropical shrimp disorients its prey with a sonic boom. Despite its modest size, the pistol shrimp is one of the loudest marine animals. When the shrimp snaps its claws, it creates a sound as loud as a sonic boom. Naturally, this sound stuns the prey, and the shrimp can catch it without too much effort. Now, in the comic world, there's venom. In the animal world, there's a guy that can be called anti-venom. Opossums are known for their handy trick of pretending to have passed away when a predator attacks them. But that's not the end of the story. These guys are also immune to rattlesnake and pit viper venom. The secret is a peptide that helps opossums neutralize dangerous chemicals. This is the reason why snakes are a favorite treat on opossums' diet. There's one curious thing they have on their diet: ticks. One opossum can hoover up about 5,000 ticks per season, and most of them are picked off their own bodies. Now, imagine a fish that is so notorious that it's called a dangerous fish. It's mabenga, and it literally translates to dangerous fish in Swahili. This monster lives in freshwater and doesn't mind having a crocodile for lunch. Not a whole crocodile, but mabenga can take a bite out of them. But to be honest, these guys are intimidated by the crocodiles, the same way the crocs are intimidated by them. Now, you're watching this video on some gadget, right? Well, we all owe the gadgets we have to the electric eels in some way. I mean, all gadgets have batteries, and eels contributed a lot to the invention of an electric battery back in 1800. I know, the batteries have unrecognizably changed since then, but still, the first electric battery ever was invented thanks to electric eels. Anyway, if you see one of them and want to thank them for their magnificent invention, don't do that. Thing is, they can deliver shocks up to 860 volts. You don't want to experience that. Now let's talk about the Count Dracula of the animal kingdom. Nope, I'm not talking about bats. I'm talking about the fanged vampire fish. These fish are known as payara and have 2 long fangs protruding from their lower jaw. Here's why some people associate them with vampires. Hippos are the beauty gurus, since they know how to save a fortune on skincare. Living under the harsh African sun, these animals secrete a sweat-like red oily substance that evaporates and keeps the animals' bodies cool. Besides, the fluid works as a moisturizer, sunscreen, and antibiotic all in one. But they're not the only ones with such a superpower. Mantis shrimp know how to produce natural sunscreen too, but they use it for eye protection. It's all about amino acid pigments, and these pigments act as special filters that contribute to their sharp vision too. That's what I call multitasking. Meerkats have dark patches around their eyes which makes them look even cuter. But these black circles aren't there just to make these buddies more adorable. They also function as built-in sunglasses. The dark fur on the patches blocks the blazing sun, and as a result, meerkats can gaze directly at the sky. On top of that, the sentry, a meerkat that watches out for birds and other predators, can easily see danger coming and alert its mates. Wild goats are famous for their climbing skills, but the alpine ibex from northern Italy is the champion. This critter can climb nearly any vertical surface, defying several physical laws in the process. Interestingly, the animals that do walk on the steepest cliff walls are typically mother goats with their little ones. Large males prefer to keep their distance and use flat horizontal surfaces. Smart guys. Some animals protect themselves with venom or nasty bites, while others use chemical tricks for protection. Listen to this. Some species of millipedes produce hydrogen cyanide and exude it when they feel threatened. Hydrogen cyanide is odorless but highly toxic. One little millipede can't seriously hurt you, but you may have burns or even blisters if your skin is sensitive. Plus, to make the picture even scarier, some millipedes glow in the dark. So watch out, and if you see a crawling spot of light at night, run away as fast as you can. When the bombardier beetle feels threatened, it sprays scorching liquid from the tip of its abdomen with a loud popping sound. As soon as the beetle senses danger, a chemical reaction starts in special reservoirs in its abdomen. The heat from this process nearly reaches the boiling point and also produces special gas that triggers the ejection. This super protection is usually fatal for the attacking insects. I guess so. Plumed basculus lizards have an uncanny ability to run on water. First of all, their hind feet are equipped with long toes which have fringes of skin that can spread out in the water. As a result, a bigger surface of the lizard's foot comes into contact with water. Then, when it runs on water, it pumps its legs incredibly fast. This creates little pockets of air that prevent the animal from drowning by keeping it on the surface. Now, fleas can be annoying, but it doesn't make them any less amazing. These tiny critters can leap about 50 times their body length. If people could do the same, we would be jumping about a quarter of a mile into the air. Well, let's try it. The most curious thing about fleas' astonishing ability is that they take most of the power for leaps from their toes, not knees. So, what's your favorite animal superpower? I vote for the kangaroo rat. I don't like standing in lines for the bathroom. You're sitting in a soft chair at home and watching TV. Click another reality show. Click an action movie you've seen so many times. Click a nature documentary. Boring. Click, click, click. The remote stopped working. Great. You open the back lid to change the batteries, and a random thought occurs to you. How did they come up with these batteries, you think? With the help of the fish, a voice from the TV answers you. You look at the screen. The host of the wildlife show talks about electric eels, how they generate electricity, why they don't hurt themselves with it, and how they help to create batteries. Okay, they got your attention. Make yourself comfortable and enjoy. We fly to South America. Here our exciting adventure through the tropical jungle begins. We need to go along the Amazon and find a small pond or stream that branches from the river. This is where our shocking little heroes live. You pull a fishing rod out of your backpack and throw the line into the water. Very soon, the fish should take the bait. By the way, an electric eel is not an eel at all. It's a fish, and it's closer to the carp or catfish family. The line is wiggling. You pull the rod but realize you're not strong enough because an electric eel is a really big creature. Its length can exceed 8 feet. That's more than the average height of a professional basketball player. And it weighs about 44 pounds. Size isn't the only thing that's scary about it. The electric eel is able to shock you really bad. An electric eel can't breathe in water like fish do. It needs to come up to the surface and breathe the air above. Besides, they jump out of the water to attack predators. This is their way of protecting themselves. The eel's electric power can reach more than 600 volts. This burst of energy is enough to knock an adult horse off its feet. That's why you need fake bait to make the eel deplete all its energy. You were prepared for this and took a life-size inflatable alligator doll with you. You throw it close to the fish, the eel attacks it several times. Now you have time before the fish recharges itself. You put the eel in a glass tank filled with water and carefully study it. Previously, when people discovered this fish for the first time, they placed it in an aquarium and transported it around the world. In Europe, the eel was shown at exhibitions, and people considered it a real monster. But thanks to science, we now know how this fish generates electricity. The eel's body contains electrical organs. There are thousands of disc-shaped cells called electrocytes all over its body. When the eel wants to fight off an enemy or attack its prey, its brain sends a signal that passes through the whole nervous system and gets into the electrical organ. Electrocytes are instantly charged with electricity and release it. Individually, these cells are weak, but what's peculiar about this organ is that it provides a charge to all cells at the same time. They create an electric field around the eel, which scatters in different directions and stuns all living things nearby. In 1800, the way eels accumulate electricity inside them inspired an Italian physicist, Alessandro Volta, and helped him create the world's first battery. At the time, he called his invention a voltaic pile, and the unit of measurement of electric potential was named after the scientist himself, the Alessandro. Volt, that's it. Anyway, still Volta couldn't understand why the electric field didn't touch the eel itself. More than 200 years later have passed since then, and science still can't explain this phenomenon. It's possible the charge is released very quickly and doesn't have time to touch the eel. Also, there's a theory that during the strike, eels bend their body in a certain position that allows them to avoid getting struck. But there are cases when eels accidentally hurt themselves. Electrical shock is not the only superpower this fish has. It can create a very weak electric field to detect its prey. Almost every animal on the planet has electroreceptors. Thanks to them, they can feel barely perceptible electrical signals. Thus, the eel, like a sonar, locates its prey. After that, it releases a stronger charge to immobilize its target before attacking. There are about 350 species of fish that can generate electrical discharges, but the most powerful is the eel. Some creatures, such as the elephant fish, use this ability to detect predators and hide from them. The charge in their organs is not enough to attack, but still sufficient to recharge a small battery by 2/3. One of the weirdest fish releasing an electric discharge is the stargazer fish. To see it, we need to dive to the bottom of the ocean. Now, look very carefully. Among the ocean sand and rocks, you can distinguish the faint outlines of big eyes and a creepy mouth. Now, that's not me. The face looks like an imprint of some sinister creature, but it's the real face of a stargazer. The fish merges with the seafloor to catch prey. It has eyes, nostrils, and mouth on the top of its face, all in the same place. It buries itself in the sand, opens its mouth, and waits for little fish to swim by. Organs that produce electricity are behind the stargazer's eyes. The fish uses them to protect itself from predators. The shock confuses the enemies, and the stargazer has time to swim away. And not only sea dwellers can generate electricity. Let's go to lush green meadows to see them. Bees fly and work hard here. These creatures flap their wings so fast that they generate an electrical pulse. Look how a bee flies up to a flower, pollinates it, and leaves a faint electric trace on it. If another bee gets to this flower, it will notice the electric mark, understand that this flower has been harvested already, and try another one. In the jungles of Madagascar, Africa, and Australia, you can meet the gecko, one of the most tenacious lizards in the world, which can climb on any surface. If we look closely at the structure of their feet, we'll see hundreds of tiny bristles on them. These bristles are divided into hundreds of smaller bristles, and these microscopic hairs cling to any surface so close that its molecules mingle with the gecko's and create an electromagnetic charge. Some spiders can even fly using the Earth's electric field. During and after a thunderstorm, charged electric particles appear in the sky. Spiders climb a tree or a tall blade of grass and release their webs. The silk gets electrified and raises, and the spider gets thousands of miles away and rises to the heights where passenger airplanes fly. Besides, spiders use electricity to catch prey. They cover their web with a special glue with electrostatic properties. This glue is immediately attracted to any objects that fly in the air. Thanks to this ability, the prey is very easily entangled and gets stuck inside the silk. The oriental hornet has pigments that work just like solar panels do. The hornet absorbs the sun's rays and converts them into energy. Almost all living creatures have an electrical potential. You, watching this video, holding a cup of tea in your hands, or talking to someone. This all happens because your brain sends a signal to your nervous system. And this signal is electrical. You go to the gym, lift heavy dumbbells, squat with a barbell, and all your muscles are contracted with the help of an electric charge. This energy is present in almost all cells. The only question is why some animals have a stronger charge, while others have a weaker one. Evolution is the answer. In the water, where visibility and audibility are bad, and where it's impossible to hide from predators or find prey, living creatures received electrosites for navigation, protection, and communication. Wow! Wasn't that information shocking?